Right, let's move on, shall we? Britain's foreign aid budget, as I was just telling you, is being used to cut smoking in China and keep homes in India cool. Despite repeated promises to concentrate UK aid on the poorest nations, much of the research cash, which is counted towards the controversial 0.7% aid target, which of course Cameron ring-fenced, is going to countries such as India and China. Examples include £133,500 grant to Sun Yat-sen University. No, I don't know either. For a project looking at how to reduce smoking amongst migrant workers in factories in southern China. Let's have a chat with the former UKIP MEP, Godfrey Bloom. Hello, Godfrey.
Hi, John. How are you doing?
Not too bad. At least it's not going to bongo land then. What do you make of that?
Well, I think the other half goes to bongo land. You know, this really is. We're all laughing, and a lot of people listening to the show will be laughing, but it's getting well beyond a joke, this, isn't it? This money, there's a number of problems that we have here. There's a number of issues. Firstly, picking up, the first one is 0.7% of GDP, which was ring-fenced by Samantha Cameron. Let's get it right, John. Yeah. Who did it? Samantha did it,
fair
didn't
point,
she?
Fair point.
So that's 0.7. But what we've got to bear in mind, we have to look at our estimated GDP growth for 2017, which is about 1.6%. GDP growth. So we're actually talking about an enormous figure of 50% nearly, very nearly 50% of the entire economic growth of the country this year. It's a huge amount. When you say 0.7%, it doesn't sound much, and politicians don't want it to sound much, but it's nearly 50% of our growth. That's 0.1. So it's absolutely scandalous, treasonable, I would suggest, treasonable. Secondly, that money has to be borrowed. We don't have that money. We're not a big, fat, rich country that can sort of chuck this money about. This money is borrowed. And, of course, the national debt's going up by £15,000 a second. £15,000 a second. So this money that we're giving away is borrowed. There is no audit trail. There is no serious audit trail. And I've been to many of these countries. I've been to Africa. I've been to the Indian subcontinent. I've been to China. I've been to all these places over the years. And the first thing they tell me is the money doesn't get to them. If you go to a dirt poor village in the Indian subcontinent, it's always intercepted. It's intercepted. The money is intercepted before it gets anywhere near poor people. So it's never reaching the right people. That's another point.
Okay.
But there's another moral issue here. There's another much bigger moral issue here. Is it the government role to give money to charity? And I would argue that that is not the role of government. If we want to give money to charity, and I do, and I'm sure you do, I'm sure all your listeners do, to the best of their ability.
Of course.
We're not all necessarily very rich, so we can't do much, but we all do our bit whenever we can. And this nation, is one of the most generous charity givers in the world per capita.
Yep.
Which is an interesting phenomenon. So we are a generous nation. Now, if I want to give money to a charity, that's my personal business. I like to give to small charities, local charities, where there are no fat cat CEOs like Save the Children on 180 grand a year and all those kind of things, all these massive salaries that David Miliband's on £500,000 a year, and all this theft. And there's another word for this, John, theft from relatively poor people. Being distributed by relatively rich people. So I think it should all stop. I don't think there should be any foreign aid. The only foreign aid that should go is when you have an emergency like we've seen in the Caribbean, and by all means we step in and we help as best we can.
Of course. So,
and that's what, we're not just giving unaudited money. And of course 40% of this, as Michael Caine would say, not a lot of people know this, but 40% of our aid goes via the EU. So we get the extraordinary situation where it's distributed not even by our own inefficient, incompetent, corrupt government, but the incompetent idiots in Brussels. So we actually find ourselves, money filters through to Argentina, and we find that if we're at loggerheads with Argentina, some of our own money has gone to be buying super-étendards from France with our money. I mean, but the audit trail on this, if you take some trouble to look at it, is absolutely quite astonishing. I would arraign our politicians, I would arraign them for treason, and I would send them to prison.
So the bottom line is all foreign aid would be cut apart from emergencies like the hurricane we've just had in the Caribbean?
Absolutely, and if the government want to be to keep their sort of nice, bona fide, cuddly, warm apple pie and motherhood credentials, if we contribute money to CAF or something like that, one of these charitable organisations that actually filters the money to wherever you want it to go. I have an account; they are very good too. We could put that on our tax return and say, give us a tax relief at the standard rate. So for every pound we give to charity, we get 20p back. So that we actually get a bit of tax relief on our charitable contributions. Wouldn't that be a more equitable way of dealing with this?
It certainly would. And now, just because I've got you here, before I let you go, you mentioned the EU. What did you make of the vote last night? And what do you make of the Brexit negotiations so far? Why on earth are we even considering giving them £60 billion, Godfrey?
Well, I don't understand it. There's no legal requirement to do so. But, of course, we've been betrayed. With our membership of the European Union since we joined. Every single time we negotiate something, we find, months or years afterwards that we actually have given all this stuff away. So, again, it's a matter, I would suggest, of treason. I don't want to deal with these people. I'm a no-deal supporter. I don't want to deal with these disgusting people in Brussels. I just want to go and we can cut our own deals with whomsoever we please. So, no thank you, no deal.
So, no deal is better than any deal that's going to come out of this negotiation. Yep.
We have never done a good deal with the European Union for 50 years or 40 years. We've never done a good deal. We're incapable of negotiating a decent deal because all our civil servants are dedicated to the European Union project. They're dedicated. They want Brexit to fail. We've got all the wrong people in Brussels. David Davis is the only genuine leaver in the entire shebang.
Absolutely. Well said, Godfrey. Great talking to you, my friend. Godfrey Bloom, former UKIP MEP, shooting from the lip today. Do you agree with him? I love him. I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, but I like the fact he says it with passion. I do agree with him about foreign aid. There should be no foreign aid, only in emergencies. Do you agree? 020 38 29 1234. And the farce last night in Parliament. Well done, by the way, to the 7 Labour MPs who voted with the country to get this through. Well done to Dennis Skinner, the beast of Bolsover, who clearly understands what democracy means. But the rest of them